Today we're talking about how to change your health habits, especially around food cravings. How changing your health habits can actually be and needs to be rewarding. So let's talk with food cravings. That's a habit. Food cravings are, generally speaking, a habit that you repeat. Maybe every day, a few times a week. Usually a common scenario is evenings after work. You get cravings. And it's a habit, it comes up. So the first thing we have to do to change these habits is understand the rewards, and then we need to take behaviors, non-eating behaviors, and practice them until we can get the same rewards that we're currently getting from eating. So that way we can replace our healthy behavior with the eating behavior. No, wait, we can replace the eating behavior with the healthy behavior. Now the key is you have to study your habits. So that means you have to understand what benefits you're getting out of emotionally eating. And there could be multiple benefits out of this. So this is really, really important. If you are having food cravings every night or whenever you're having them, there's a cue, some sort of stress, loneliness, some sort of negative emotion. There's a routine of eating, some sort of routine, and then there's some sort of reward. You need to be very, very clear on all three of these aspects. So let's give a practical example. The cue for emotional eating at night could be loneliness, sadness, anger. It could be stress, it could be fatigue. Now, the key, perhaps the most important key, is getting clear on what you need. So this cue, right? You're stressed out. Let's say on one hand you're stressed out, and the other hand, so you're anxious on one hand, and then on the other hand you're lonely. So they both are negative emotions, but stress is maybe you need some time to think. Maybe you need some time to yourself. Maybe you need to relax. Maybe you need to exercise. I don't know. There's a different thing. If you're lonely, you need companionship. You need to go to a community meeting to connect with people. This is very important because remember the cue. Because understanding what you need, what the negative emotion is telling you, the message of the negative emotion is how you pick a routine to solve the negative emotion. If you're lonely and you pick the self-care routine, the healthy behavior of relaxation, the loneliness is still there. Okay? So if you're eating, let's say you gobble up all this food at night because you're lonely, and you then try to relax, well, guess what? The relaxation isn't going to meet your need. You have a cue. Loneliness is your cue. Your eating routine is eating so that you don't feel lonely. The reward is not feeling lonely. So if you try to replace this eating habit with relaxation, it's not going to work. This is so important. You have to have emotional intelligence to understand your negative emotions. This takes time. For example, it's taken me a lot of mindfulness, a lot of journaling, a lot of introspection, and a lot of repetition without judgment for me to get clear on what these negative emotions are telling me. If you go home at night and you feel this storm of negative emotions and you don't know why they're there, then it's going to be impossible for you to for you to explore and practice. It's going to be impossible for you to explore, practice, and discover a behavior that rewards you. I'm trying to boil this down into ever simpler terms so that you really understand the importance of this message right here. The importance is you have to understand the negative emotions. What is it? What is it specifically? Because stress is different than loneliness. Sadness is different than anger. And you need to pick a behavior that will give you the rewards for that negative emotion. Remember, we're taking the eating habit, we're substituting it with another behavior, a self-care behavior like talking to a friend, going to a community meeting, going on a walk, exercising, reading. There's thousands of different self-care activities, but a lot of people, they feel that self-care doesn't work. They feel a negative emotion, they go read a book, and the negative emotion is still there. Well, if you dive into that negative emotion and really get clear on the dominant emotion in that negativity, let's say it's loneliness, then your self-care routine has to address that primary dominant negative emotion. If you have all these negative feelings and you just do some random self-care activity, it's probably not going to really meet your needs. The lesson is you have to meet your emotional needs. You have to meet your emotional needs. There is no shortcut. You can change your eating habits, but you need to get your emotional needs met. There's no wiggle room. There's no wiggle room. Let's go back to the basics of a habit. Cue, loneliness, or some negative feeling, oftentimes. It could be a different cue. Routine, eating. Reward is maybe numbing out, not feeling those things, some excitement, some relief of that negative feeling. When you take away the eating, you're then left with the feeling. So the feeling isn't going to go away unless you take care of it, right? So the beautiful thing is that you can. It's possible to meet your needs. The hard part is figuring out what your needs are. That cue, oftentimes, when people come home at night, it's like a storm. It's like the habit has been repeated so many times throughout the years, maybe starting in childhood, that it's almost instinctual. You're feeling a negativity and your body is already going through the cookie bin, the cookie jar. It's already ordering the fast food. It's already driving to Wendy's or Jack in the Box and getting more food. It's very hard to feel those negative emotions and hold off. It's very hard to hold off those negative emotions. Your instinct is going to be want to eat food, but you need to hold those negative emotions off and then understand them. What's going on? Why are they there? How many different negative emotions are there? What's the most powerful negative emotion in that dark storm? And then once you identify the most powerful negative emotion, what do you need? What do you need? Again, I'm using some examples, some traditional examples. Loneliness. Are you lonely? I feel you. If you're lonely, you got to get that need met. You got to get that need met. You got to. You can't just hold off food cravings without getting your needs met. You can't just willy-nilly go on a walk. That's random. That's not a strategy. That's not a long-lasting strategy. The strategy is to understand what do you need in that dark moment. And dark moments, they might have different needs. One day you might be lonely, the other day you might be fatigued, the next day you might be sad. You need to be able to go into the darkness and understand, the darkness is there because an emotional need is not being met. So you need to understand why the darkness is there, what need is missing, and you need to then make progress towards fulfilling that need. You need to hold off eating, attempt some self-care to meet that need, feel some bit of positivity, okay? That's all you need to do. Now, the cravings will still be there in the beginning. Don't judge yourself for having those cravings. You can actually then mindfully have some food. I've gone over this in another video. But the key is to practice that cycle, noticing the cue, understanding what the negative emotion is telling you, practicing a self-care behavior to meet that need, feeling some sort of reward, and repeating that again and again and again, because it'll grow. You'll get better. Your needs will become more and more met the more you go through this energy cycle. Okay? So you're rewiring your brain to meet your emotional needs. That happens over time. All right. That's how you change your healthy habits. Let me know if you have any questions. Peace.